Committee meeting of Wednesday, June 17th, 2020. This meeting is being recorded by the Ways and Means Committee, WebEx, and GCTV. If anyone else present is doing the same, please notify me at this time. Seeing none, Clerk Scott, would you please take the roll?
Councillor Wheeler.
Present.
Councillor Forgy.
Here.
Councillor Bottomley.
Here.
Councillor Disorder.
Here.
Councillor Elmer.
Here.
Councillor Elmer.
Here, yes.
Thank you. Chairman Wheeler, you have a quorum.
Thank you. We've had a couple tiny broadband issues so far, but we'll adjust if we need to. First thing on the agenda is the approval of minutes for May 7th, May 11th, and May 20th, 2020. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved, Disorder. Second, Forgy.
Moved by Councillor Disorder and seconded by Councillor Forgy. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes for May, raise your hand. I see 5 hands. It passes unanimously. Thanks, everyone. We have no public hearings tonight, so we'll move into motions. And I will try to pull up the first one. I move that it be ordered that the sum of $95,000 be transferred from 9/11 contributory retirement to offset a deficit in 151 legal in the FY20 operating budget. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Forgy. Discussion.
No.
Councillor Forgy.
I was the second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was the second, but thank you for calling on me. I have to recuse myself on this item and the next one because I am a retiree.
Very good. So thank you, Councillor Forgy. I'm actually having trouble, maybe getting the chat open just in case anyone is trying to speak. Okay, I've got that going. So Councillor Forgy has recused herself. Is there any further discussion on this transfer? And I think we spoke about it briefly last time. So seeing none, all those in favor of a positive recommendation for the transfer of $95,000 from contributory retirement to offset a deficit in 151 legal, raise your hand. Opposed, abstain, passes with 4 votes. Moving on to the next page. I move that it be ordered that the sum of $76,000 be transferred from 9/11 contributory retirement to offset a deficit in 914 health insurance in the FY20 operating budget. Do I hear a second?
Second, Bottomley.
And Councillor Forgy, as stated earlier, recuses herself on this one. Any further discussion on this item? It's really just about like the last one. So, seeing none, all those in favor raise your hand. And we have 4 hands. Opposed, abstain, it passes with 4 positive votes and 1 recusal.
Councillor Wheeler.
Clerk Scott.
Can I ask who made the second? I missed that.
Who is Councillor Bottomley.
Thank you.
Thank you. On to the next I move that it be ordered that the sum of $12,000 be transferred from 1627 bond premium to offset a deficit in bonded debt paydowns in the FY20 operating budget.
Second, Forgy.
We have a second from Councilor Forgy. Is there discussion? And Director Gilman is here to answer any questions, but these are pretty straightforward. So, all those in favor, raise your hand. And opposed? Abstain? That passes unanimously with 5 votes. On to the next. I move that it be ordered that the sum of $82,000 and $82,086 be transferred from 1627 bond premium for GSET to run fiber. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Forgy. Is there discussion? I know that Director Lunt is ready to use this money as soon as it's allocated. So, seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of a positive recommendation, raise your hand. Opposed? Abstain? It passes unanimously. And that leaves us with one final item. I move that it be ordered that the sum of $60,000 be transferred from the following accounts listed below: 201004700 trash disposal account to fund a shortfall. It amounts and the lines are DPW admin 40,000, DPW highway 10,000, DPW parks 10,000. Is there a second?
Second.
That was 3 at once, but Councilor Bottomley used his voice, so I'm gonna it was seconded by Councilor Bottomley. Is there discussion? And we do have Director Warner on the line should we have any questions, but again, I think we did talk about this one prior. We knew that we would probably have a shortfall in trash disposal, but it's good that we're able to cover it. So, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Opposed? Abstain? Passes unanimously. And that does it for our motions and considerations. Is there any discussion or other business tonight? Councilor DeSorger.
Do you have any news to report on?
Let's see. There's lots of news, but I don't have any related to the budget. Director Gilman, do you have anything?
Other than it's getting down to the wire for FY20. We're good on the revenue, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed. We have not heard more on the state aid other than Senate and Conference Committee are working together to do one budget. They aren't going to individual ones. So still no ETA on when they're going to release the state aid. And everyone has bated breath waiting for this, because it impacts, in speaking with many communities, which I have, everyone's anticipating anywhere from 10% to 20%. And it's a large number depending on what's included and which percent they go with. So To be continued. Summer will certainly be more than usually busy because I do feel I really the entire revenue budget for 21. And then, we'll be making adjustments to the expenditure. So it's going to be a lot of work. It's not just, cut a couple things. It's going to be challenging. Let's put it that way. But we can do it. We also have a decent stabilization, and we'll make it through this. We have to be prudent, and which is why we're watching our spending this year to make sure we hit the revenue number, and if we don't, we're okay anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I think Counselor Elmer has a question.
Yeah,
Sure.
just can you explain when you say 10% to 20%, is that 10 to 20% less than we were expecting, or
Yes.
10 or 20% of what we were expecting?
Less than we
Less,
were
okay.
expecting. So all we had at this point was the governor's budget, and that is what we had based our budget upon because that's all we had. And so it will be less than the governor's budget, 10 to 20% less.
Right. And just to refresh our memory how this normally works, normally by the time Ways and Means was finishing our process, we would have had the conference committee between the Senate and the House. We would have had some nearly perhaps final numbers. So it's really a totally different year this time.
Yeah, and generally the initial budget numbers were low. So as you went on in the process, it got a little higher. This is totally different.
Yeah. Follow up, Counselor Elmer?
Actually, a different question.
Sure.
I think we all saw in the paper that the number of teachers who got laid off. You get some context. Was this a surprise? Was this expected? Will any of those? How many of those people will be coming back? Can you give us some context?
I haven't gotten a list, but I can tell you there's a difference between laid off and not filling a vacant position or a new position. So I don't think that number was layoffs. So in other words, there was a reduction in force. So there were some vacancies that were not going to be filled, and there were some new positions that were not going to be filled. So I think when all is said and done, and maybe the school department can speak to that at council as to what the exact layoffs were of people in positions.
Thanks. Counselor Forgy.
I also wanted to say that some of this is contractual agreement. The teachers have to be given by contract a 60-day notice. And as Director Gilman just told us, the numbers are moving targets right now. So there's so much uncertainty out there. The one side of the aisle is that the contract has been adhered to, which is always a good thing. The other side of the aisle is they're just not going to know what those numbers look like until a little bit later on. But it does fulfill the requirements of a contract.
Yeah, thank you for that, Counselor Forgy. Counselor Bottomley?
I did have a question, Chair Wheeler, for you. Do we normally ever get the finalized education budget? Because we never saw a budget that had the final figures. There was the cut, but we haven't seen anything. And obviously, the decision has been made to lay off people, but we haven't seen a budget. And I think the public, at least, should be able to see a completed budget. Even with the moving targets, the other departments have submitted budgets despite the moving target. So I just didn't know how much this year varied from previous years.
Yeah, my understanding is, I mean, this is actually not that different. The school committee is under no obligation to offer updated line items to their budget, to us, that is. It is should be a public document once it's finalized. But unfortunately, this does tend to happen every few years where a certain number of teachers are pink slipped, and we cross our fingers that some of those positions are able to be retained, which, I mean, I will do this time as well with kind of less expectation that it might happen. But yeah, it's a little different because we really only okay the bottom line number with the schools, not the line items. That's really the school committee's purview.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions on that or anything else? Seeing none, looks like we'll have a little break before seeing all of you again at 7 p.m. Our next meeting is July 15th at 2020 at 6 p.m., probably via WebEx. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So
moved.
Forgy.
Moved by Councilor Forgy. And do I have a second?
Second, DeSorga.
Second by Councilor DeSorga. All those in favor, raise your hand. Passes unanimously. This meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
See you in a few.